Good afternoon, first of all. I believe you attended the keynote session, and if you ask me what is the key takeaway from that, I would say there are no heroes, right? We cannot pinpoint one person and say hero, right? Everybody is a hero in a team. That's a good thing. That session was really informative as well. Same like that, our session is going to be informative as well, and it is going to help you make an informed decision when you are solving any business problem using ETL next time, right? So our session is metadata-based dynamic ETLs, and our agenda is we're going to look at a report generator product which we have developed and how we implemented it using classic SSIS implementation. SSIS is SQL Server Integration Service by Microsoft, and how it didn't work for us and how we solved that problem using a metadata-based approach, and how we simplified it using an abstraction layer called BIML, that is Business Intelligence Markup Language, and then a final knotting or getting together all the dots we have plotted, and that will be the final architecture. And I want to share what lessons we have learned when we are developing the product. That's the whole agenda is going to be, right? So the first thing, the report generator which I was talking about, that is, it is a report generator product for financial data exchanges between investment banks. It's a standard actually how you communicate between investment banks for certain financial data, right? And it is quite simple a product where the standard is an Excel format or a CSV format, as simple as that. So our product, what it has to do is it has to get source data or the data from different sources, and it needs to process it or extract it, transform it, and load it into a destination schema from where the report will be generated for each client based on their need or the particular standard as well. That's the whole product is about. Now, on a high level, our architecture will be like this, where we'll have source schemas, actually multiple source schemas, from where we'll do extract, transform it using some mathematical operations, expressions, aggregation, and so on, and then load that data into the destination. The destination is again a schema where we load the end transformed data, and from where we can generate reports out of it, right? Obviously, we need to know what is the source and what is the destination if we want to create this ETL, right? This is a sample report or one of the report which we have created for a client. It is quite simple, where we have an OLEDB source from where we are going to extract, and then a derived column that is a complex mathematical operation, which is the transformation part of it, and then we load the transform data into OLEDB destination, that is the load part of it. So we have E, T, and L in our SSIS package, and that's the whole package for a single report. Quite simple, isn't it? Now, it got complicated. I'll tell you how. That is, let's say our first client is an ABC corporation, and he came to us and told us, okay, I have a file called account. I want to generate a report out of it. I said, okay, fine. We'll create a ETL package which will do the extract, transform, and load for you, and then from the loaded data you can generate a report. And then again, one more client came in and said, I have a file called margin. I want to create a report out of it. So I said, fine, we'll create one more ETL for you. It again extract, transform, load from scratch, and then generate a report. And time goes by, and the number of ETLs or SSIS packages we created became so much that we're not able to manage. So at that point of time, what we thought is, what if we don't need to create this packages manually every time. Every time a client signs up, I don't want to create it manually. What if there is an automated way of creating it or processing the data automatically instead of doing every time this work from scratch again and again. And most importantly, it is a time consuming process if you create ETLs every time, right? That's when we thought of this solution, a metadata based approach, where every time client comes in, we'll capture all the metadata. What's the metadata? Where is the source, where is the destination, how we want to transform it, what kind of transformation you want to apply. All those are metadata. We'll capture it and keep it somewhere in a metadata store, obviously, right? And then using that metadata, we can do a lot of stuff. And we had three options. The first option is a bespoke solution using C# or Java, where I'll read all the metadata and then process it, and then we'll process the data at the runtime, or the C# code will do it for you, right? The problem with this approach is we will lose the power of ETL because we are writing everything from scratch again, right? So we said no, we're not going to do that. Then we thought second approach is create one master ETL or a master SSIS package which will read all the metadata and then orchestrate different SSIS packages dynamically. Again, the problem is we are back to square one of having too many SSIS packages, and to write such a complicated master ETL which orchestrates different SSIS, it will be difficult. So what we thought, let's not go for that as well, right? And then we thought the third approach is this dynamic ETLs. Dynamic ETLs is nothing but we captured all the information we need, and why not create these packages at runtime? Whenever a client signs up, we capture all the information and generate ETLs dynamically. This solution looked neater, right? It is neat. So we thought, okay, let's go for it. And you might ask me, were there no problems in dynamic ETLs? That's what the whole session is about. What problems we faced and how we solved it, right? In this session, we're going to do two stuff. One is we're going to see how we capture the metadata and how we create ETLs dynamically. Two simple steps. Now, the first step I was talking about, that is a metadata store where you store all your metadata information. We'll have, this is how our metadata store will look like, which has a source information, destination information, how we connect to the source and destination, and what kind of transformation you want to use. Is it going to be a mathematical operation? Is it going to be an expression? Is it going to be an aggregation? Whichever transformation you want to use, all those metadata will be stored in the metadata store. Our first step is done, right? We move to the next step. That is, as the metadata is in, the only thing we need to do is read it and generate it dynamically. So we need a ETL generator, right? What this guy do is read the metadata, validate it, and generate the ETLs dynamically, and which in turn emits an SSIS package for us, right? It is quite simple, at least on paper, right? It's just lines and then we are done with this, right? But it is not. I'll show you how it is not that simple, right? If you see the raw format of the SSIS package which we have created earlier, it will look something like this. A complex XML structure which is about 660 lines of code, which is complex, which is not readable, and which is not maintainable. Can I create something like this? Can I dynamically create some XML like this? I can, but is it easy? No. Is it maintainable? No. So I will not, at least I will not go for this. So at this point of time, we face the second problem, how to solve this complex XML structure problem, right? At this time, we thought, what if we have an abstraction layer in between this ETL generator and the actual ETL, which will simplify the work for us. This abstraction layer should be simple enough, should be simple to read, it should be simple to maintain, and I don't need to worry about version. The biggest problem of this raw format is, again, every version of SSIS, this raw format will change. So my abstraction layer should give that option of I don't need to worry about any version changes. Luckily, we found one such language or an abstraction layer, that is BIML, that is Business Intelligence Markup Language. It is an XML dialect, as simple as that. It is just an XML dialect for SSIS or ETLs, where it will be simple and easy to maintain. And if you compare the raw format and the BIML, it's around 30 lines of code actually, from 660 to 30. And if you, I'm not sure whether you can see this, but what's here is we have a OLED-DB source, we have a derived column, and we have a OLED-DB destination, similar or exactly same as SSIS. This is nothing but SSIS converted into easily readable XML, as simple as it gets. And the most important thing is BIML is colorful. I know it's intentionally made because every hero needs some prominent introduction, right? So we made it colorful, BIML, and Bollywood style, right? All right. So more about BIML. BIML is created by a company called Verigence. They are mainly into business intelligence development. And they have given libraries from where you can create SSIS packages out of your BIML. You have a BIML, you pass that BIML to the library, and then it will emit out SSIS packages. It's out of the box, right? And you can get more information about BIML and Verigence from their website, bimlscript.com and verigence.com. Now, we have introduced a hero, it's colorful, and we need to plug in that hero in our generator so that it will generate BIML first and then it will generate SSIS out of it, right? So this is the change which we introduced in the ETL generator. What it will do is, again, it will read the metadata and then validate the metadata, and then once it's validated, we will load the BIML templates. What's a template? It's just templated XMLs what we have, and then we combine all the metadata and the templates together, and finally we form one complete BIML that is an XML. That BIML is nothing but a markup language for SSIS, right? So once the BIML is ready, we will emit SSIS package out of it. The generator will give out SSIS packages, and this is how our final architecture will look like after incorporating metadata-based approach and BIML. Once it's just the same thing, a ETL generator which will convert the BIML to SSIS. Once a package is ready, that package will do the work for us. For every client, we'll have different packages which will read data from different sources, and then it will give out the data or transform the data into the report schemas from where they can generate, or we can generate the report on a particular format. So the final question, so I've plugged in everything, we have the final architecture, everything is ready. The important and final question is, will it work, right? That is the basic question, right? If it doesn't work, how does it matter, right? The answer to that is yes, it works, and we made it work as well as a product. And during the journey, we faced a lot of problems, and we fixed it using different techniques. And so from that, I'm going to share some lessons learned, and I'm going to share that because it will help you in the future if you're doing the same, right? The first suggestion I would say is, if you have a star schema on the right hand side, you need to transform data from one side to the other side, right? If you have a star schema on the right hand side, and if you want to generate BIML for that, the BIML might get complex. The BIML or the SSIS generation itself will get complex. So I would suggest go for flat structures where the right hand side and the left hand side will be flat, and then it's easy to generate BIML and then an SSIS package out of it. The second point here is about ETLs, not about BIML as such, because ETL is meant for batch processing. It takes a batch of data and then process it, and then that's it, done with that. It is not ideal for row by row processing. So if you are looking for row by row processing, you want to process the first row, do some manipulation, again the second row. If you want to do those kind of operations, I would suggest go for a C# approach or a Java approach, which gives more flexibility on each row. And the third point which I want to highlight is, if we are using BIML templates, of course we'll use it because the BIML gives you the power of reusability using templates, right? If you are using templates and if you are not organizing it properly, or if you are not formatting it or organizing it properly in a good structure, then it will get messy and it's going to be a nightmare for maintenance, right? So I would suggest keep it well organized and then keep it well templated. And then the important point, the important lessons we learned is keep it simple. Your BIML should not have any logic inside it. The BIML should be simple and plain like an SSIS package. All your business logic to generate that or do some manipulations in that should be out of it. So keep it simple is the key part of it. Let's connect or recap whatever we saw in this session. It will gather, you will get the whole picture, right? First we saw a report generator which we developed, and then we saw how we implemented it using classic SSIS implementation, and that didn't work for us, of course. To make it work, we went ahead with the metadata-based approach, where we incorporated some metadata stores and then reading it using a metadata or ETL generator. And then we simplified the problem using metadata, and finally we connected all the dots using the final architecture, and I have shared some lessons learned during the journey as well. Using BIML for dynamic ETLs is just one usage of BIML. There are many usages. One I can tell is, instead of use SSIS, you can directly go for BIML, where you can use BIML as separate templates, and you can use in a single project, and you can replace SSIS, which will give you more flexibility and reusability of templates. So that will be one usage of BIML. I'm sure if you start exploring more on BIML, you will get more scenarios where you can use it, and that will help you make an informed decision on your business problems, right? And I have some time for questions. Please go ahead.
How do you capture the metadata? You have a separate tool to capture the metadata?
Yes, extraordinary question. So I can show what we have done. I'm not sure you can see clearly. What we have is a configuration UI. This is the actual product which we developed. We have a configuration UI which will capture all the metadata and then put it in our metadata store. There is a config data store here and some other store services as well. So we'll store it using a UI. You can use UI or you can use configuration files or whichever you want to use. That depends on how your requirement is. But we used an UI to capture the metadata.
Another question.
Yeah.
The transformation piece of it, if you have to transform the data.
Yes.
BIML will also support the transformation kind of logic.
BIML will not support transformation. BIML is just template, right, or XML. From that, you feed that XML to a library that will give you an SSIS package. So in turn, SSIS will do the transformation for you, but instead of creating SSIS directly, we will use BIML and then generate SSIS out of it.
But the logic is there in the BIML, how to transfer?
Yes, exactly. You're right.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you're saying storing metadata, how are you some tables, files, or how is it?
Yeah, again, if we ask us in our product, how did we store? We used a SQL Server database where we created schemas and then stored all the configuration or the metadata. If your requirement is not that complex, you can go for simple XML to store it, or you can have a flat file as well. That depends on what we are using, but we used database, SQL database.
So how do you read it?
Yeah, to read it, there is, if you can see here, there is a BIML service, like I'm not sure where it is, right? We have a BIML service. What it will do is it will read the data, and using just an NA-Bernard layer we created, ORM layer, which reads it and then it takes it out and then it creates a BIML out of it based on the metadata.
Okay, say I have installed this SQL, so I want to use, I want to create dynamic packages, how can you use this?
Okay. To generate, okay, let me complete the flow, then you can get it. So, BIML internally uses SSIS libraries to create SSIS. Okay. Let's say you create a BIML file, a OLEDB source, the right column and the destination, the simple XML. What you can do is, you can, there are some helpers available for Visual Studio as well, it's called bits helper. What you can do is right click on the BIML and say generate SSIS. What it internally does is, it will read that BIML and convert it into SSIS. And then you can execute that SSIS packages with the help of SSIS server you installed.
Okay, so for this BIML I need to install?
No, yes, from the BIML if you want to generate SSIS, you have to install SSIS.
So we use BIML, so what I'm supposed to install?
Yeah, to use BIML, you don't need to install anything. It's just an XML. You need bits helper, the max, or the libraries of bits helper. That's all you need for XML. Yeah.
I like the idea you talked about the metadata system which can transform the data.
Yeah.
And the schema is flat and processed. But when you talk about BIML, this is just a parallel idea of
Sure.
answering such. So I wanted to know how you what's your approach on this. There is a lot of processing involved whenever we introduce any XML transformation system. So if I can create a domain-driven models for all these schema, I could directly generate an ETL package.
Okay.
Or I can, using a BIML, I'm adding another XML parser and I'm adding an XML DOM or a SAX parser, which is going to delay the processing pipeline, or it's going to, add more metadata to my actual data rather than the desired output. So isn't it? It's more an elongated process than a domain-driven one.
Okay. In-depth question. It's a nice question.
Yeah.
Right. So, a domain model you are talking about. Your major concern is you have one more layer. Why I need one more layer if I can generate? I can transform it using SSIS, right? The main idea behind BIML is to simplify the generation of SSIS. That's it. So we don't do any transformation as such from BIML. So what we are really doing is, we have one XML which is easy to maintain, and that XML in turn generates an SSIS package. That SSIS package is the one which is going to do a transformation for you, not the BIML. BIML is, it's an empty shell with some XML tags, that's it. So if you ask, will it slow down the transformation of data? No, it will not. If you ask me, instead of directly generating SSIS packages, why I have to choose BIML? That's what I have explained. That is, instead of creating a complex raw format of SSIS, generating a BIML is much more simpler and easier. That's why we went ahead with this approach. Okay?
So, if I want to generate SSIS,
yeah.
I can create the SSIS manual.
Yes.
It is only to generate SSIS package.
Yes.
There is a business application like I am creating a workflow which will dynamically generate the SSIS and do the transcription.
Let me reiterate.
This is just a kind of ID. I will say this is my source, this is my destination. Generate one SSIS package.
Yes.
There is no runtime kind of application where I can design some workflow or some ad hoc basis SSIS package will generate on fly.
Yeah, you have some applications which are IDEs which Verigence has developed. I can show you that. Sorry. So there is a tool called, or IDE called Vivid or Mist, I think. So what you can do is you can have all the XMLs. You can generate the packages out of it. You don't need to do anything else. Just it will look like this IDE, Visual Studio IDE, where you'll have all the BIMLs, and then you say right click on that top and then say create SSIS out of it. It will generate for you. So if that is what you're asking, if something else, you can explain.
I feel the use of this tool, whatever you're explaining, is just kind of development, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I can create some business workflow where I can generate the SSIS package dynamically, say like as a business user.
Yeah.
If they want to select this is my destination, SSIS package is built on dynamic.
Yes, that's what we are doing. That's what the application which we have built. So if you see the architecture which I have shown in the end, it's not that clear, but still I'll give it a try. So this is the architecture. This is the whole product as such. So we have a UI from where user will enter what is the source, what is the destination, what kind of transformation you want to do. That will get stored in the database, and then we'll use a service, BIML service, which will generate the SSIS package out of what you have saved, right? So to generate, we need some templates. Let's say I have OLEDB source. I'll put a tag OLEDB source connection. I'll leave it empty. From the database, I'll take what is the connection name or connection string, and then append it to the BIML template what I have, and I'll form a complete BIML. And from that BIML service will give you the SSIS package. If you ask me in this application, can I put source, destination, transformation and click on generate? Will it generate? Yes, it will generate. That is the application we have developed using the BIML created by Virgins. Right? Another question?
Generate, deploy, schedule, everything.
Yeah, this application does. Whatever we have developed, yes, it does. The controller which you see here, generation is done by the BIML service, and the controller will execute it. We have a workflow, inbound comes in and then transformed it, and then it goes an outbound, that is a report. So the whole workflow is controlled by controllers, what we have in our application.
This is directly in the production, is it?
Yes.
The users really create and dynamically deploy
Yes.
and work in the production.
Yes. That's the whole idea. We don't want to create manually. Give it to the BAs, business analysts. Whenever they go to the client, they'll see, oh, what all files you have. Okay, I'll configure all that, and then save it. That's it. System will take care of the rest.
How do the people test it if there is a problem with the data? Because majority of the time the data transfer is not seamless. Right?
Yes.
We have a lot of problems with the data.
Yes.
How do we
For that, we have built one more section in our application. It's called a dashboard, which will clearly tell where it failed, what row it failed, what column it failed. So we can nail down. Even that is available to the BAs. They don't need to come to us to see what is the problem. If it is really a technical problem, then they will come to us to fix that.
So what kind of sources are there? It is only design for sources, or we can take any kind of sources? For instance, like you can have different types of sources.
Yeah, so as we have written over SSIS, whatever SSIS supports, we are supporting it. It can be a web service, it can be a flat file, it can be a CSV file, Excel file, so on, PDF as well.
So, BIML is going to be like, now today we have a version of SSL package. But if it gets upgraded, is BIML also going to be like upgraded? How do you maintain? You told one of them is maintenance, because if the versions keeps changing,
Yes.
it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
BIML also is going to be
Yeah.
compatible with future versions, or how is it?
Good, an interesting question, right? So it's like N-Hibernate over RDBMS. Whenever you are changing to 2012, what you go to the configuration and then change it as dialect is 2012, and then it starts working, right? The same way it works, but there are some deployments you have to take care. Let's say your library is moving to 2012, then you have to copy the 2012 SQL Server 2012 libraries so that it will generate 2012 SSIS package. Just on the deployment side, not on the code side. Just more of a deployment problem, what you're asking.
Any upgradation like this?
Yes, we have done. First we started with 2008 and then we moved to 2010. Hopefully we have to come back to 2008 again. Right. Thank you. Right? Thanks. That's all the time I have. If you have any other questions, please mail me. My mail ID is mponuswamy@sapien.com. I can show you that, and then I'll leave. This is my email ID. Please mail me if you have any other questions. And thank you all for your time. Thanks.
Thank you, Madhan.